Hello, welcome to Davita's Stamping Spot. I think I'm going to call today just tips and tricks. A few things that I've picked up as I've been playing with these sets, and the idea started from being online and seeing someone playing with their markers and our Stampin' Up! Stamparatus. So the set, I'm using several sets. Rooted in Nature, I'm using these 3 trees and then our big one. I'm pulling some pieces from Snowfront, Mountain Air that I used last week, My Meadow, and Waterfront. Now, we try to convince ourselves we don't need all of these sets because they're somewhat similar, but they just provide so many different options when we can use them together. So I'm really having fun with all of them. Oh, and the other set that I'm going to add in is Birch, which is this background image. All right, starting with very vanilla cardstock and our 3 trees, I'm going to start with Old Olive marker, and I'm going to use the side of it because I want to keep the tip of it nice and pointed. So that's tip number 1, that always when you're using your markers, if possible, color on the side. It'll keep it fresh, and you'll be able to use it a lot longer that way. Tip doesn't get all ruined. So the first thing I'm going to do is color all of the trees in the Old Olive. Like that. Then I'm going to come back, and here's another tip for you. Here's our chamois, and that's a full one. You can cut it in half and have one this size. But when you're working with the Stamparatus, cut it even smaller, and you're going to love how easy it is to clean your images and you don't get extra stuff. So I use that one when I'm playing with my Stamparatus. Now I'm going to go back and put my trees, the bases in, and I'm using soft suede. Now I'm going to clean that off just because I'm trying to keep it clean. I'm going to come back with Mossy Meadow, and what I want to do is I'm just going to add some shading. Now the stamps already provide some, but I want to add some more. So I'm going to put the marker on the edge like this. Now if you want a very distinct shadow, you can leave it just like that. I didn't like that as much when I was playing with it, so I came back with our blender pen, and I'm just kind of smearing out the edge here to soften the difference between the 2 colors. And then I decided, well, I've got ink on there, I might as well use it, so we'll just add a little bit more in like that. And look at the depth and the texture that you get. I'm not sure how well you can see that on the video, but you're going to just see a lot of variation. I also like how I can clean out my blender pen just by rubbing it on the chamois. So I took the 3 trees like that. I used the dies from the Rooted in Nature set and cut them out. I pulled in some deer, water, mountains, and I noticed in the Mountain Air set that it showed the shadow of the birds. So what I did was with the bird, it's this little tiny, let's see, we'll put it on there, you can see it, little tiny birds, but if you turn it over, you get these clouds. So see my clouds here? They're from the background of the birds. So there's another tip for you, another way to use what you hopefully already have. So then I just wanted a fun fold, so I cut it at 4 1/4 by 11, scored it at 5 1/2, and then 2 3/4, and that'll provide that fun fold like that. So that's the first one. Then what I did was I took the big tree. This tree I wanted to start with a little bit softer color, so I'm going to start with, actually, you'll probably be surprised, but our Seaside foam. Notice with the the magnets, I've put painter's tape on it. You can put washi tape, but just something to help you pull them off. You'll find when you're using the Stamparatus that our cling stamps do not stick to the paper like the polymer do, so you don't have to worry about them pulling off as much. All right, so on this one, I'm going to start with the soft suede again. I'm going to do the base of my tree, and then I realized there are some branches in here, so I just took my marker, colored them just a little bit, like that, and did the branches and the base, which looks a little strange. Then we're going to come back, and this time we're starting with the Seaside Foam, which is a very, very light green. Color it all in. And I'm not going to worry about the brown that I put on there because it's darker than my green, so it's not going to matter. So now it's very light. I'm going to come back now with the Pear Pizzazz and try to add just a little bit of depth. Again, you can do it straight on, or you can take the blender pen and kind of spread it out a little bit. So there's adding a little bit of depth. Then I went back with the Old Olive, and on this one I found I really wanted to thin it out because it did get pretty dark in a hurry. So add just a little bit. So did anybody catch my oops? In the last 2 weeks when I was recording, I purposely used the wrong name for a tool to see who would catch it. Now the very first week it was an accident, and Mary Kirch caught that one. But then I made a point of making mistakes just to see if anybody was paying attention. So if you caught that oops, which tool was the wrong name, reply in those videos, underneath those videos, and let me know you caught it. And what I'm going to do is take it, the people that catch the oops, put you in a drawing, and at the end of the month, somebody's going to get a free gift from me. So what I'm doing now is I want to make sure it filled in really well, so I'm coming back with the soft sea foam and doing that one more time. And look at all that variation that you get. I just think that makes it look so much like a real tree. And I might even come back and add just a little more depth. So I took this one here and did the same, added some grass to it and a saying. I did try it on watercolor paper. It does give it a little bit of a different look, but it wasn't enough that I wanted to spend the money on the watercolor paper, since it's more expensive than just our regular cardstock. So when I first made this one, I took it in to show Kent, and he looked at the background and kind of got hung up on that. And he kept saying, well, it just looks like this is the one I started with, it looks like these are rocks or something. So I went, oh, that's a cool idea. So this is actually the birch background, and I took this part right down here. And if you look at that, it kind of looks like a mountain area. So what I did was I inked up just that portion, sponged over it a little bit, and then I cut my tree out and put it over the top, and surprise, surprise, there's my mountains again. As I told you, I'm just having way too much fun with that set. So there's my 2 ideas for you today. This one using the smaller trees from Rooted in Nature, and this one, the bigger tree from Nature's Way. So check those out, and I think that's it this week. So I hope you enjoyed these few tips and tricks. We'll see you next week.